Hello there, and a very warm welcome to Chazingdra Chats, the show where we take a stroll through the life stories of people in the Pokemon community discovering the 6 Pokemon on their dream team along the way. I'm Charlie Merriman, merry by name, merry by nature, otherwise known as Chazingdra, a host and commentator for the Pokemon Video Game Championship series, and a content creator, and this week as every week, I very much hope my guests and I can make your day merry. We are still buzzing from the Pokemon World Championships. I have whipped out my SoCal style again to welcome on Cam Steady, who is performing at the opening and closing ceremonies. Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the warm intro.
No, of course, thank you so much for joining me on the show. In fact, when I met you at the World Championships, I believe I gave you one of these stickers for my podcast, and then I reached out to you online and said, well, hey, do you want to be on? So thank you for joining me.
Of course, excited.
So for anyone who's not so familiar with you, Cam, can you give a brief introduction to yourself?
Yes, back in 2011, I birthed the series Video Game Rap Battles, which became my full-time internet presence for many, many years, where I would pit video game characters against each other in a rap battle. And around 2020, 2021, I decided to make the pivot into rapping about my favorite video games and anime rather than having the characters rap battle, and that is where Cam Steady was properly born. And to this day, I rap a lot about Pokemon, other anime, other video games. And that all culminated in me getting to work on this Pokémon World Championship soundtrack and perform there.
Very exciting indeed. And as I said to you before we started recording, that soundtrack has been in my head since I heard it live. I deliberately didn't listen to the soundtrack beforehand, and I experienced all the songs live for the first time. And wow, I cannot wait to talk to you more about that and a fascinating journey that you have. So, wonderful. Well, what do you say, Cam? Shall we do this?
Let's dive in.
Fantastic. All right, well, what we're going to start off with, creating videos and songs as a 5 to 10-year-old, and then also receiving your first Pokemon game.
Yeah, I remember being in 2nd grade when I received my first Pokemon game. It was a copy of Pokemon Ruby that our aunt just sent us. We weren't even super into video games. We liked the concept of them. We didn't really have a great console or anything. I think at some point we were gifted a Game Boy Advance, just the big, clunky purple one. And we loved it very much, but we didn't really play that many games because we weren't even really at the age where we were actually reading the text or anything like that. So it was a lot of just falling in love with the first route. You know, we kind of just like kept playing it over and over and over again, but it was so much fun. And in terms of content creation and music and making videos, I was just one of those kids who seemed to know what they wanted to do at a very young age, and I just attached myself to it and started doing it. The promising lane for me seemed to be videos and film production. I got a camera at a very, very young age for my birthday, and even when I didn't have a camera, when my dad had a camera, I would be like, point it at me, I'm gonna go do something funny. And you know, it's just like, look at me, I'm gonna, like, let's film me. Like, there's videos of me at 5 years old yelling at my dad, film this. So, needless to say, not much has changed in those 20 plus years. But I just very vividly remember, even before I knew what a melody was or what a verse or a stanza was, just writing lyrics, whether it be copying a melody I heard on the radio or just coming up with something on the spot. But it's really crazy to look back and be like, there is documents of me at a single-digit age writing rhymes, and that was never an intention. I never wanted it with the intention of I'm going to become a professional musician. That was just something I liked to do. I liked rhyming words, and I thought I was going to be a filmmaker. And when this Pokemon game came to me and I started making YouTube videos, music was kind of just a natural progression for a way to make short-form videos about something I was passionate about.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, I mean, combining your interests from a very, very young age. Pokemon Ruby was your first game. Okay, I'm going to refrain from asking what is the first Pokemon you chose there, just in case it's going to be making an appearance on your team, but we'll see. So at what age do you think you were when you were able to understand more what was going on in a game and were able to progress further?
It was probably along the same whenever Fire Red and Leaf Green came out. So that was either a year later, I believe the remake came out. I don't know if it was on an every 2-year release at the time or every year, but so probably looking at grade 3 or 4. I actually remember where I was when I beat my first Pokemon game. I was on an airplane, and I didn't have access to online. I didn't know the strategy guides or anything like that. I didn't know the plot. So I was learning about everything for the first time for this first playthrough that I was doing. And of course, you know, the little Timmy strategy of I had one super overleveled starter and then like a Zapdos and then a bunch of HM Pokemon that weren't doing anything, and trying to solo run that team. And I was caught completely by surprise at the battle with the rival at the very end of Fire Red and Leaf Green. I had no idea that was coming. I thought I beat the game when I beat Lance. And so I was on the airplane. I did not save my game. And they were getting to the point. This is when you had to turn off your electronic devices during takeoff. You know, like now you can, if you have a non-Wi-Fi device, you can just keep using it. But back then you had to turn your devices off during takeoff. And so in that game, it plays a cutscene. You don't walk up to the rival and challenge him. You can't save. Once you walk into the final room, you can't save. It's just the battle starts. And so I remember the rush of I have to beat this guy and not wipe out before the plane takes off. And I remember just the craziest feeling of like going through all that, because it was so like beating Lance when you're 10 and don't read the game and you don't understand it is really hard. So getting to that rival fight and then having to perfect it on the first try so that this airplane doesn't take off, I don't lose my progress and have to fight Lance again, was definitely a core Pokemon memory for me.
But my goodness.
So I remember exactly where I was when that happened.
Yeah, and you did it.
I did it.
Oh.
I did it all. If I didn't win on that, I might have just uninstalled the game and been like, you know what, maybe Pokemon's not for me. But I won. That was my one of the first games I ever remember beating. I can't even remember beating a game before that, and it's obviously poetic as to where we were standing last week. So
yeah, exactly. My goodness me. So there's a chance that your life could have taken a totally different course if you hadn't been able to beat Lance before the plane took off. Wow.
I'm sure there's many different avenues like that came across that I just happened to walk the roads that lead to this path.
Yeah, wow. Okay, and then on the other side of things, you always enjoyed being filmed. You always enjoyed doing silly things, doing music. Was it when you were, 5 to 10 years old? Was there always a musical element to it, or was it more just sort of little funny ideas that you had in your head?
Plenty of funny ideas. I love superhero movies. I loved anime, so we'd be like, "Oh, let's do a fight scene," or I like being funny, so it'd be comedic sketches and stuff. Like I'd write little scripts. Like I'd be in class writing like a script, or sometimes I'd write even just like comics if I couldn't. Write a screenplay before I knew how to like edit videos and everything. But no, in middle school, I started my first YouTube channel, which is a different channel than the one that I'm currently active on. And it was really like sketch style videos where we would dress up like the Mario characters or Pokemon characters, be like, oh, what kind of funny hijinks would these guys get into if they were in the real world? That was kind of our whole premise. We'd watched other content creators do similar premises before, and we're like, this is a funny idea. Let's do our own spin on it. And when you're 12 years old, you're just parroting the stuff that you like, essentially, whenever you create something. And the music came into play because getting people to act in my middle school short films and sketches was tough. I'd write these roles and then have nobody to play it. So a lot of times I'd either play multiple characters, or we'd have to like plan out play dates like, weeks in advance with our parents and stuff like that, just so I could film a video. And I became a fan of stuff like epic rap battles of history, where they would take characters and have them rap battle each other. And so the musical element almost came as a way of being like, oh, if I do a rap battle between two characters, I only need one other person to come show up, and I can write everything, I can edit everything, I can make the music. And so I remember opening up GarageBand on my Mac and just taking like a drum loop and a synthesizer loop, and I'm like, oh, that's a beat, that's a rap beat. And I wrote like a minute and a half of rap lyrics where Mario and Ash rap battled each other. And me and my friend got in front of our green screen. We filmed a very, very low quality video, but I taught myself how to do all the chroma keying and everything. We're looking at like 7th grade age. And so it's like 11 or 12 years old. And it instantly connected. So if I didn't have that instant feedback of like, I think that had like 100,000 views when I was a kid. And so to make a song with 100,000 views in 2012 or 2011, when I am, 13 years old, that definitely was like, oh, maybe I should try this music stuff some more and try it again. So then I did it again, and eventually was like, I just need to start my own channel for the rap battle stuff, because that's interfering with the sketches. I was still like, the sketch content is still the gold, but people like the rap battle, so let me like explore this as well. And then, needless to say, the music aspect is what really took off, and I started pursuing that as everything progressed.
Yeah, okay. Well, before we talk a little bit more about that, my final question on this point is, had you always been inspired and influenced by rap music growing up? Who were the people you listened to the most?
Yeah, I grew up in a household where there wasn't a lot of rap music, and so when I went online discovering rap artists for the first time, I was always a writer first, and so rappers that could like tell a story or play with words in a way that I had never discovered was always really exciting. So there's the obvious like Eminem's or a Kanye West, back then, and even people like Nas and DMX, but then the internet rappers really resonated with me too, because I was, a middle school kid from a, quiet suburb. I didn't have as much relate to what Eminem and DMX were rapping about, but then there was online artists like Watsky and Wax and Lloyd and Peter of Epic Rap Battles, and even people like D-Storm. These are online YouTubers first, essentially, who either were rappers that became YouTubers to promote their content, or YouTubers who explored rap music. And I tended to relate to them because I was also watching their other content that they were doing. And that was very pivotal for me kind of finding my voice in terms of, what do I want to rap about? How do I want to rap? It was a very nice balance of the traditional names you would hear from anybody that grew up listening to rap music, and then these kind of niche internet artists that you really had to be there to experience.
Fascinating mix. Wow. Okay, well, now it's time to discover what's going to be the first Pokemon on your Dream Team, Cam. So as a reminder, the aim here is not for Cam to build the most competitively viable team in any way. It's just the Pokemon that have been the most special to Cam over the years, and he can define that for himself in whichever way he would like. I have no idea what they are. He's decided on these in advance. So Cam, tell us, what's going to be Pokemon number 1?
I have to be the most basic guy whose first game was beating Fire Red and Leaf Green. I'm always going to bring Charizard with me. I know how the community is polarized by Charizard and his popularity. I understand that is a very popular pick to have as your team, especially considering how deep in Pokemon fandom I am. I'm sure people might be a little surprised by how basic that is. But the very first Pokemon I ever took to the league was Charizard, and essentially carried me all the way through, considering that was probably the only Pokemon that was leveled at all. And just my connection to the anime, Ash's Charizard, and how awesome it was. I don't know if you've ever seen the anime scene in the Battle Frontier where Ash's Charizard fights an Articuno, and it's like the coolest fight ever. Like it was like one of the Battle Frontier episodes where it's just a 1v1 and Ash brings Charizard to fight Articuno, and I was like, wait, Ash is picking a good matchup? Like, what is this is awesome. And it was really cool. It was like one of those examples where Charizard actually listens to Ash and stuff, and that was like a big character moment. And so a lot of those moments resonate with me a lot. And also, the orange dragon is cool. I don't care. He is cool, bro. He breathes fire. It's awesome.
He is objectively cool, I would say, for sure. You're so right. We've seen a lot of Charizard up to this point, and so, yeah, I think people have lost sight of just why Charizard might be cool, but I totally agree with you. Charizard, fantastic pick. So, that's going to be Fire Red, but then when you played through Ruby for the first time, do you remember what your go-to first partner Pokemon from Ruby was?
It's tough because I think both Kanto and Hoenn are examples of, like, perfect starter lineups. You know, I have no... If you tell me your favorites, Venusaur or Blastoise, I will be like, yep, those guys are pretty awesome too. And I feel the same way about Hoenn. But I think I always would go back to Trico. And I think Trico was the very first one that I picked. I know I was a big fan of Ash's Trico as well. And like Sceptile is awesome, bro. The literal leaf blades and everything like that. I love Blaziken. The Mudkip line is great. I love Mudkip as a Pokemon too. But Trico, now that I'm saying it out loud, is definitely the one that I favor of those three.
Trico. Well, Charizard, welcome to Cam's Dream Team. And everybody, if you're enjoying this chat with Cam Steady, please do like and subscribe. It would mean a huge amount. Always does go such a long way. A couple of simple clicks. Thank you so much, Cam, for the physical representation of the like button. But we've got so much more conversation to have. So we'll go straight from there over now into, well, it was uploading your first Pokemon rap on YouTube. So let's talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so we've already dove into the surface of I was making sketch content that was already based around video games, and I was a big fan of the series Epic Rap Battles of History, and they would take two historical figures traditionally and have them rap battle each other. I'm like, this is so cool, the format is awesome, I love all of the wordplay that they're doing, I love the video editing on the green screens, and the costuming and everything is awesome. I just don't happen to really know half of the people that they're talking about because I am 12 and haven't done a lot of historical study yet. Which, to be fair, watching Epic Rap Battles actually helped me with my history classes, which was really cool because I'd be like, oh, like I didn't know who Rasputin was, but like now I do. And then when he's brought up in AP European history, I'm like, oh, I know that guy. He rap battled Stalin. And but in terms of what I wanted to do, I was like, that looks really fun. I want to explore all of that style of video creation that they're doing, but I'll just make it about characters that I know about. So it was, you know, Ash and Mario were the first ones I did, but then I did like Dragon Ball and Yu-Gi-Oh! To follow up after that, and I would kind of explore those types of things. I was just super passionate. I was just making music about things that I was genuinely a fan of. You know, a lot of my early videos, I wouldn't even consider to be like great matchups from like a clickability standpoint. I wasn't like thinking of like, oh, what will drive the most clicks? What will be the best matchup? It would just happen to be like, I think these two characters are cool, so they should fight. And so Ash and Mario was the first one, instantly probably like 100,000 views. The second one also did similar numbers to that. And then by the third video, I had decided to start the channel Video Game Rap Battles as a separate channel, which is currently the YouTube channel Cam Steady, has been rebranded to Cam Steady. It was Video Game Rap Battles for many, many years. And the one I did was like two horror game characters, actually. It was like a Minecraft horror character named Herobrine and then Slenderman. And again, not two characters I would say have like deep historical lore of them going back and forth. I was just 13 and was like, Slenderman is cool and Herobrine is cool because I like Minecraft and Slenderman. And that video is probably sitting at 5 million views. And so that definitely defined what my YouTube content for that near future would look like, was me taking characters that I was a fan of or I saw a lot of potential in terms of how the community was resonating with them, make them rap battle each other. And a lot of those characters happen to be Pokemon. We even started a separate series where we would just pick two Pokemon and have them rap battle. So there was a Pokemon rap battles as well, where it would just be you can name any Pokemon that would make sense. Arcanine and Ninetales. Like, okay, cool. Those two have a rivalry. A Zangoose and Seviper. You know, the Groudon and Kyogre. Literally, we would just take them and make rap battles. So for the longest time, the music was pretty much exclusively rap battle content. I would drop maybe 1 or 2 songs per year, but that was only if I was super passionate about like one specific game and was like, I just want to rap about this game. I don't even want to pick a character or a rap battle. I'm just like, when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire dropped, that was probably my first full rap about Pokemon that wasn't a rap battle. And we just remixed the battle theme, like one of the champion themes or something like that. I think it was maybe a gym battle theme or something like that from Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and turned it into a rap beat. And I literally just rapped out the entire plot. Like, then you go to this gym, then you go to this gym, then you go to this gym. And so it's kind of funny that Good Game on the Pokemon soundtrack is kind of a walkthrough of a journey of a Pokemon trainer, you know, going on this perfect day. That was the concept for Good Game. It was very reminiscent of some of the early Pokemon raps that I wrote, where I was literally just like walking through what a Pokemon journey is in rap form.
Wow. That's so cool. And yeah, the lyrics from that song are incredible, but I know there's a question that's coming for you that we will take a deeper dive into in a moment. It goes to show how, yeah, there's, especially these days, there's all this information about, what topics are trending or whatever, or the sort of content that we're told people want to see. But fundamentally, as is evidenced by the fact that you just took those 2 characters and then it got 5 million views, just the stuff that you're passionate about. Sometimes you have to tell the algorithm, you have to tell the world what they want to watch, because it's not necessarily the case that they're going to know all the time. I mean, those are insane numbers for someone for example, that video that hit 5 million views, roughly how old would you have been at that point?
Probably 14.
14, yeah, I mean, they're absolutely unbelievable numbers. I mean, did you sort of have a concept at the time just how amazing that was, just how popular your channel was becoming?
And I want to emphasize how this is 5 million views, or like this is 2012, you know, like this isn't today where, like, you know, a TikTok can blow up and get you 1 million views in a day, and follower counts are kind of negligible, because if you have a big short, you can gain 10,000 followers in a day, you know, like it's like follower counts are kind of not weighted the same as they were back then. It was great because, like, I remember the YouTube Partner Program where you'd have to hit a certain threshold and then you could get like a custom banner at the top of your channel and stuff like that. And so I did register these lofty goals that were to build this following at this age and everything. I kind of knew that those were milestones, but I guess the weight of the numbers was kind of skewed by how early I received them. Because then it kind of just became like, well, that's just what I'm supposed to get, you know. That's like, yeah, like if I can do it, then I can do it again, right? And it kind of skewed how I would view success and stuff. You know, like it took a lot of detaching the worth to the number and everything, because you're just like, you know, that's just how it naturally would go. And sometimes you're afraid to start a new project because you're already like, oh, I have a successful project and I don't want to put something out that gets 10,000 views if I have something that has 10 million views, right? You know, like it. So it took a lot of growing actually as a creator to have that up front and realize that not every project is going to do that, and not every project needs to do that immediately. And so I did register that it was big, but definitely skewed expectations. And also, I couldn't even really grasp how crazy it was. Like, I think the first year of video game rap battles, it ended up with 30,000 subscribers. And to do a YouTube channel like that in 2012 and have that number at age 14 is insane. And I do want to go back to 13, 14-year-old me and give him a pat on the back and say, you're doing something really cool. Just relax, bro. Like, trust me. Like, you're doing such cool stuff. But it's such a cognitive dissonance at a young age, and you're dealing with comments of people who aren't particularly nice to you at the age of 14. So now you have this like, wow, I hit these high numbers, but also I'm kind of getting bullied at the same time. So it's so much growing involved in having that much exposure at a young age. And I am definitely much more comfortable and confident in myself as a creative and dealing with online expectations, comments, and numbers at the age of 27 than I was at the age of 14. But it was a growth period for sure.
The rough with the smooth, absolutely. And as you say, a real crash course in brushing up on all of these things that not many people that young would have had to deal with. Thank you for that, Cam. And now it's time to learn who's going to be joining Charizard as Pokemon number 2 on your Dream Team.
I'll go with another obvious one for me. My biggest song, and the one that I've attached a lot of my artistic identity to, because I'm also very, very proud of this song, and I perform it at every show. The song is called Mewtwo. And Mewtwo was always one of my favorite legendary Pokemon. Again, so cool. Grew up with him. And, like, it's not even that I obviously love the Mewtwo movie, but I didn't know how to get Mewtwo in Fire Red and Leaf Green. You have to beat the entire post game to do that. You thought I knew what a post game was when I was that age? So it was not the attachment of Fire Red and Leaf Green. Definitely the movies definitely gave me that attachment to Mewtwo. But I remember playing Battle Revolution with my friends. And we would go over to, we had some friends who were very wealthy that we would go spend 4th of July. That's an American holiday, by the way. And I don't know if you know what happened on the 4th of July, but something pretty cool happened. And we would go over to this family's house, and they had this big like movie theater projector screen in one of their living rooms. And we would play Battle Revolution on this giant screen, and it was awesome. And one of the most powerful Pokemon that we would constantly use against each other was Mewtwo. So I just kind of had this, like, high, even though, like, Kyogre, Palkia, Giratina, like, they're all there. For whatever reason, just Mewtwo clicked as, like, this guy's different, you know, like, something special with this guy. And during the lockdown period when I started going full-time on music, one of the first big songs that I was able to put out was my Mewtwo song. And I think there was a lot of buildup of, I had a lot of things to write about with that, and I'll definitely dive into that if we go more into that period of my career, what that song is all about. But it's very personal as well. You know, it's a mirroring between Mewtwo and myself as a creative and an artist living in this space. So there's a lot of parallels between the two. And I will never not have... I mean, I have the full Mewtwo armor behind me right now from the first movie. And so it's an obvious pick for me. So Mewtwo is choice number 2.
Mewtwo, yeah, wow. The song Mewtwo, yeah, and I believe that we will be taking a deeper dive into that later on as well. Fascinating to see where these picks are coming from. Of course, Mewtwo, from your musical perspective, is joining the team here. Charizard, more just from your childhood perspective playing through, so I'm interested to see what the lore is behind some of your other Pokemon picks. But now we will side-strike from there over into meeting your closest friends through YouTube music.
Yes. You might have met him briefly. He was in the hotel lobby when we all met. But this whole weekend, or week even, would not have ran nearly as smoothly without my friend Kevin, who goes by Kevin Crust on all platforms. Kevin was also a young teenager on YouTube at 2012 who happened to make epic rap battle of history inspired rap battle videos. And he was like one of the only kids who had also kind of figured out the green screen, the rapping on beat, saying some clever punchlines. And he's from Chicago, and you know, I grew up out here in Southern California. And for whatever reason, we DM'd. I think YouTube had a direct message feature at the time, like an inbox, versus now you can't message people on YouTube. But back then, you could actually have friends on YouTube too. So I believe we added each other as friends, and we started messaging back and forth. And then through years of Skype calling, and we started making videos together, and then eventually he became one of my full-time editors, but also just this week did everything for me in terms of shot all of the content that I needed. So when I'm going around dressing up in cosplay, or I'm lip syncing, or I'm on stage and need somebody to get behind the scenes content, he was there with the camera. If I needed an energy drink, if I needed somebody to go get my wardrobe because I left it at the hotel room, Kevin had my back, and Kevin has had my back for well over 10 years now. And so that's just one of the extreme examples, but also one of my good friends, Matt Forio, who I shouted out on the live stream when I was interviewed by Pokemon after the opening ceremony. This is another person that I met through making raps about Pokemon on the internet. And the reason that like me, Kevin, and Matt Forio all really connected versus the other people that were making rap battle content on YouTube at the time was our all shared affinity and love for Pokemon to like just a level beneath the surface. That's just we had lots of friends who were into Pokemon, but we were talking about this is probably around X and Y coming out, and we were just all obsessed with that, talking about competitive battling, IVs, EVs, this. And we really all built such a tight-knit circle because of the Pokemon aspect of our community, more so than just the nerdy music side of it. And I've met so many people through this, and to this day, at this event, I hang out with another rapper friend, Shofu, who I have known since the X and Y era online, another talented rapper. GlitchX City was a featured creator. She does incredible remixes of Pokemon soundtrack songs in the lo-fi style, but also other styles. And I have known her since 2014, something like that. I remember sharing hotel rooms for PAX East 2016 with her. Stuff like that. And it's truly incredible that it's a testament to how much growth we've all had in terms of our careers and lifestyles. People have had weddings. People have had children. Glitch is married. Matt Forio, I went to his wedding in New Jersey with Kevin a few years ago, and he just had his first daughter. And to either see those people in person at Pokemon Worlds after just performing that event was so incredible. Look at how much we've grown, but we're still all here together in this community. It's incredible. But even just getting a FaceTime call from Matt Forio, who is still in New Jersey with his newborn daughter, and he's tearing up because, he just saw me perform Pokemon Worlds, which is this incredible experience that a decade of work and friendship built up to. Without his support, I'm definitely not on that stage. Without Kevin's support, I'm definitely not on that stage. And so it was a very, very emotional weekend, not just because of the things that were achieved, but also the people that I got to do it with.
Wow, yeah. It's such a shining example of what the Pokemon community is all about, and I'm so pleased that, as you say, a decade of friendship and hard work, it made all the sweeter by the fact that you're sharing it with the people that you're close to. That's fantastic. And yeah, GlitchX City is someone I have featured on this podcast as well,
yes.
So that episode will be linked in the description below. Do check that out. And now one of these people, of course, that was also there at Worlds, somebody you're very close to, is Nate Wants to Battle.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Nate's incredible. I have been a fan of him. Now, we have much more of an 8 to 9 year age gap, so it was a little different going into that one in terms of I wasn't 15 years old on YouTube instantly becoming friends with this guy. I was definitely a fan, but we had similar followings sizes when we were kind of first getting connected, so we kind of would bump elbows and stuff. But really, I was just a fan of this incredible musician and creator, and he was so ahead of the curve in terms of what modern YouTube anime and video game music looks like. He kind of helped set that path, and I definitely took a lot of inspiration from what I was a fan of from him, is things that translated into my own work. And I did get to meet him very early on, we met up at an event called Too Many Games, I think in 2015 or 2016. So that was still nearly 10 years ago at this point, which is crazy to think about. And we had been connected online for a year or two before then, but I was just a fan of this guy. Super inspirational to watch him go on to do. He's done, obviously, he did Pokemon Worlds this year, and he actually was on the soundtrack last year, but he did the opening for Beyblade. He did a Dragon Ball Super opening. You know, he voice acted in official anime dubs and stuff. And so to watch him, he worked with Sonic the Hedgehog musically. And so it was incredible to watch that man's journey from an outside perspective. And I'd say, you know, we were like, we were always cool, but I was definitely like, I was the teenage kid and he was a dude 10 years older than being like, all right, sport, you know, like you're doing your thing, you keep going. And probably around lockdown, when I went full time, was the first time we had started working together on a more traditional basis. We had him contribute a verse to one of my Pokemon raps. I appeared on one of his albums. We started discussing what a business partnership looks like, what touring could look like if we wanted to do that. We both have a big live music emphasis in our careers. And I think just of January or late last year, we kind of locked in the concept we wanted to do a tour together. And we were talking about the tour, and we were like, we might do middle or end of this year. And we kind of settled on this October date in which we're going to go on tour together. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be my first tour, and it's so awesome I get to share it with him. But in terms of this gig, it was because of Nate. You know, Nate was on the World soundtrack last year. A lot of that was through his connection and marriage to Anna, who, you know, is the lead presenter of the event, and they were looking for a singer. He was the perfect person for it. And then the lead composer of the event comes to Nate and says, hey, Nate, the community really liked that you were on the soundtrack because, you know, you're such a huge part of this community, and it resonates with people when Pokemon reaches back out to its community. Do you have anybody else that you think would be a good fit on the soundtrack? And Nate was like, I think I do have a guy. And he recommended me. And that is how this all started, was back in January. Nate put my name on the table. And to go from the 15-year-old fan of this guy to the guy that he's recommending to help on a Pokemon official soundtrack is really just a testament to the growth of this scene, my growth as a creative, but also just how long that connection has lasted, and the fan to peer dynamic is something I've gotten to be a part of a few times, and it's really cool. You know, I'm not a huge believer in the don't meet your heroes, because a lot of the people I've worked with have just been so welcoming and supportive of what I do. You know, as long as I manage to prove myself, then they're willing to support.
You're so right about that, that mantra, don't meet your heroes, but it's something I too haven't really encountered to be true, within the Pokemon community at least, and I know we'll be talking more about Worlds later on. Well, wonderful, thanks so much for that, Cam, and now it's time to learn who's going to be joining Charizard and Mewtwo on your Dream Team.
I want to throw a complete wrench. We did two super obvious ones. Here's a guy that I have loved for a long time, and it came down to Generation 5 competitive and the utility of this Pokemon. My third choice is going to be Ferrothorn.
Ferrothorn, the grass and steel type, yeah.
Yes.
It's only a very stally Pokemon. Tell us more about your connection to it.
Yeah, so when I was really getting, I think, end of Gen 5 competitive, I kind of had a little bit of my first Pokemon renaissance, where like when Gen 5 was first coming out, like the first Black and White, I was kind of like at that age where I was becoming too cool for Pokemon, you know, like, you know, when I was about to enter high school, and I was like, oh, I like Call of Duty now, you know, like I was just like, what, Halo, you know, the other games I was super into. And I kind of put my love of Pokemon kind of on hold. And I started to get really back into it. And one of the Pokemon that at first gave me a lot of trouble to deal with, but then I started really loving using, was that Hazard's Stall Ferrothorn. Of like, you got Vine Whip, you got Gyro Ball, you got the Leech Seed, and you got the Stealth Rocks or the Spikes. You know, it's like, it's baby's first Stallmon, but it really was a problem. You know, like back in the day, like if you didn't have the answer for a Ferrothorn, you're going to have a long battle, and it can also hit pretty hard. That's the thing. That Power Whip and Gyro Ball, like if you get that set up, like it's not like it's just like Smeargle where it's like, all right, let's set up the hazards, and then I'm made out of glass, fold me in half. You know, it's more like, especially you have the Rocky Helmet or the leftovers on this thing. I feel like it was one of the first times where I understood competitive Pokemon beyond just fire beats grass, you know? So I really just have so many memories of using Ferrothorn in my very first competitive outings.
Ferrothorn, you're so right. It is a complete departure from Charizard and Mewtwo, and not least because we've jumped forward a few generations at this point now, from Generation 1 to Generation 5. Ferrothorn, okay, welcome to the Dream Team. We will now power it from there over to what you've called your side quests.
Oh, yes. So I have had a very untraditional career when it comes to my YouTube career, because I have only been doing, even though I've been on the platform for so long, I've only been doing this full time since lockdown, when it kind of became mandatory for me to do this full time. Because of that, I took on I was around a lot. I was able to do a lot of networking and connecting, and I would go to VidCon and PAX and this and this. And I picked up a lot of part-time work in some very interesting places. That's, I guess, the best way to phrase it.
I see. Care to expand?
Yes. The first thing that really comes to mind is a full circle moment I had. I was actually brought on to be a official writer for Epic Rap Battles of History, which was the series that inspired my YouTube channel. And I was still going by Video Game Rap Battles at this time. So one of the funniest things was me trying to figure out, how do I credit myself in this? Do I say written by Video Game Rap Battles? Do I say written by, my legal name? So it was like, I did like a legal name with like Video Game Rap Battles in like quotes was like what I ended up settling on, because I'm like, I want people to know it's me. They're going to know Video Game Rap Battles, but also this is a cool credit. I want it on my resume, so I want to put my name there too. And I had known the Epic Rap Battle guys for quite some time loosely at that point. I had probably 100,000 followers at this point. We're looking at age 17 to 18. And I actually met up with them at a VidCon where, hilariously, I was randomly selected to be brought up on stage because I knew the lyrics to one of their songs. And so that was one of the first... that was at the Anaheim Convention Center. So at the age of like 16 or 17, I got to go on stage at the Anaheim Convention Center and perform with Epic Rap Battles. And I actually wrote my college application essay about this because it was such a cool full circle moment of, wow, I went from being a fan of these guys to making my own kind of part-time career out of it and creative endeavor to being on stage with them. This is such a cool full circle moment. And Epic Rap Battles, are, especially in their prime, were huge, man. They were like one of the biggest things on the internet. So it was so cool for me. And so the next year at VidCon, they come up to me and say, hey, Cam, this Pokemon Go stuff is going crazy, and we don't know anything about it. So we want to do an Ash Ketchum rap battle, and we know that you know about Pokemon. I'm like, yes. Yes, I do. I would love to be a part of it. So me and Matt Forio, the guy I was talking about that I've been friends with and working on Pokemon stuff with for years and years, also got brought on. So for a few of the, I think it was season 4 of Epic Rap Battles, we got brought on to be writers. We got to contribute lyrics, and we got to really educate them on Pokemon. So it's, again, another story where Pokemon plays a role in me getting an opportunity. And the coolest thing about that is that season for Epic Rap Battles was actually nominated for an Emmy Award in the short form category. So when I was 18, I got to put Emmy nominated writer on my resume. So that was, I didn't tell people it was for the rap battles. I just read Emmy nominations, writer for Emmy nominated series. And that was really, really cool. And then I went over to the Game Theorist channel where I did post-production work because I was also studying film and editing, and I was a very competent editor. And so I went and did part-time editing work at Game Theory while I was also interning unpaid at Studio 71, which was the management company that manages, like, at the time they managed like Logan Paul or Lily Singh. It used to be called The Collective, I believe, and so they would do like Freddie Wong, The Annoying Orange. Like they managed all of these huge YouTube names. So I was doing like YouTube internships in one sphere and then editing for another huge channel in the other space. And a lot of people, even the ones that have been following me for a long time, this was never like a huge advertised thing. I maybe posted a couple times about it. But a lot of people, when I bring up that, like, oh, yeah, by the way, I edited for Game Theorists, or even at that internship that I was doing at Studio 71, they were managing Dwayne The Rock Johnson's YouTube channel. And they were like, oh, hey, Cam, your editing works really good. We saw the stuff you did for Game Theorists. Do you want to jump on one of Dwayne Johnson's videos? There's an interview for the movie Skyscraper, which was one of his action movies that he did, where, like, assistant editing was done by me. So it's like it's just funny that like these random things that somebody brought it up to me recently. I forgot that I did that because this is still like we're talking like 6 or 7 years ago, and I forgot that all of that stuff happened. So there's countless things that I'm not even thinking of right now, but like cases like that were just, for whatever reason, there was a one-off opportunity for me to go be in a room with somebody cool, and I just said yes to everything. So it was really cool. I had a lot of stepping stones to get to where my career circles around my art rather than contributing to another creator's.
Being a yes person can go such a long way. And I think another name you mentioned to me before we started recording was T-Pain.
Yes. This is more recent, but this is like 2022. I just happen to be connected to my friend Sam, who is he's worked on songwriting and tour management for artists like T-Pain, and he has helped me throw a lot of my live events that I've done at like MomoCon, for example, which is an anime-based convention that he's helped me throw the shows for whenever I perform out there. And it was Super Bowl Sunday. That's an American sport, by the way. And and we were watching the game, and like 2/3 of the way through the game, he checks his phone and be like, oh, T-Pain's recording down the street. Do you want to go check it out? I'm like, yeah, I do. I would love to go check out T-Pain recording, yes. So hilariously, we walk into this room, and it's just like, it's not even like a big posse or anything like that. It was just a recording studio with T-Pain, his wife, his manager, his engineer, and then like me, my manager, and the comedian Hannibal Buress, of all people. Right? It's just random. It's just I didn't know that was what I thought. It was going to be like this big like party situation, but no, it was just T-Pain. He had gotten done recording, so I didn't watch him record, but he was playing back all of his tracks. So we were just, he was offering me some drinks, and we had snacks, and we were just chopping it up, and for like 2 or 3 hours just having conversations with this legendary artist, and then this huge comedic actor as well, and comedian. And he was playing me all of his unreleased music, and he's released some of it since, so it was really cool to kind of be like, wow, I was in the room when that was an unreleased song by complete happenstance. Now what's crazy is the story I like to tell is I was talking to T-Pain, and then T-Pain was featured in Epic Rap Battles of History. He played a role in Epic Rap Battles. So I went to go properly introduce myself after a little bit of conversation, be like, hey, I'm Cam, this is what I do. And he looks me in the eye and says, oh, I know. You think I wouldn't let? You think I'd let somebody in here who doesn't belong in here? Like, I know who you are, and I'm like, wow, that is one of the coolest things anybody has ever said to me. Like, that is crazy to have a guy who basically made the soundtrack to our youths telling me that, like, I'm familiar with your work and you belong in this room. And what was really crazy is I actually did a collaboration with the game Genshin Impact. I made a song with them. And I was talking to T-Pain about that, and he said, like, oh, yeah, that was this agency, right? I was like, yeah. I said, they approached me about being on that song with you, but we just couldn't make the contract work. I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a T-Pain contract on the table for my Genshin Impact song. Nobody told me this. So I was, like, having full, like, mental backflips of, like, am I excited about this? Am I mad about this? Like, what? But such a cool experience. There's been a bunch of times where I just randomly wind up in the room with a creator I look up to or an artist that I really respect, and a lot of that is just through being around this space for so long and constantly, like you said, like I said, and we were talking about earlier, saying yes to things, hopefully leaving a good impression on people when I meet them, and you know, who knows? 10 years later, they might be recommending you for Pokémon Worlds or something like that. So you never know when you meet somebody what that impression is going to leave on them.
Yeah, bear that in mind, everybody. Wise words indeed. Absolutely incredible tales. And now it's time to discover what's going to be Pokemon number 4 on your Dream Team alongside Charizard, Mewtwo, and Ferrothorn.
I knew I wanted to get a water type in here, and I love so many different water type Pokemon. But I think the one that I keep coming back to, and I'm always like, this is just a personal favorite. I love this dude. I love Wailord. Wailord is one of my favorites, and I just love a big guy. He's just big. And I'm a huge, you know, I snorkel, I scuba dive. I love exploring the ocean whenever I get to travel. And just a Wailord is the type of thing, like, I want to swim next to that guy. You know, I want to ride on his back. You know, this huge, and just I'm a huge Generation 3 fan as well. When I did get around to beating Generation 3, like, that's it's probably a tie between that and Fire Red, which game I've beaten the most, but I've done so many Generation 3 playthroughs, and anytime I can pick up a Wailord, I'm definitely picking him up because I just love that guy.
I'm very pleased that a Generation 3 Pokemon has made the Dream Team here. Wailord joining the team, and we'll water spout now from there over into your transition from film school into music.
Yeah, so I ended up attending the University of Southern California for film production. It is coveted as the most exclusive and most sought-after film production major that you can get in the United States. And I'm very, very lucky, blessed, and a little confused as to how I got in there. But it was crazy. It's the type of thing where, like, I'm bumping elbows with Arnold Schwarzenegger's son and people who got letters of recommendation from industry heads, and like I'm not even gonna like name drop people, but it's like I get into like relationships with people who were like their granddads were like famous writers or famous authors and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I'm just a guy, you know. I'm just a guy. And it was really cool. I felt like I got in there on my own merits, and I worked really hard while I was there, but I also, you know, I felt a little out of my element in a traditional film industry. I definitely love filmmaking. I want to pursue it later in my life when I feel like I've gotten what I want out of my music career. But I ended up interning at a company, Intel, the computer processing company. And they had a virtual reality setup that they were really pushing called volumetric capture, which essentially is this huge dome. It's this huge green screen dome. We're talking like the size of a basketball court. And 360 degrees green screen. and we're talking like 100 8K cameras all pointing inward at the subject. So we're talking so much data processing required to film this that we could only film for about 30 to 90 seconds at a time before the system had to reset. So there's a lot of creative challenges that came with that. Like if we wanted to film something longer form, we would have to have actors essentially freeze in place, and they'd have to hold that position for a minute while the system could reset, and then we could continue filming. And it kind of was a good experience for me because I got some industry experience, but I also got some industry experience of like, this is essentially a startup, you know, like we weren't there was no net income for this branch of Intel. This was purely a investment experience. And so with that comes a lot of problem solving. So a lot of like, you know, even just stuff of like, how do we film actors if they have to freeze every 30 seconds? Or, you know, how do we translate a film into a 3-dimensional space with a virtual reality headset, or like an iPhone that where you can film that. And even just stuff like part of my job was going up in the forklift and going 30 feet in the air and changing these $2,000 camera lenses, you know, 100 times. And I got to learn a lot through that. So then when the time came that lockdown hit, I had been working at Intel for a few months, and the whole film industry shut down. I had my YouTube channel that was still healthy and performing, and I applied for like 50 new jobs and heard back from nothing. And I was like, well, this seems like a do or die. Like, I know I can make money off of this, so let's give this a shot. And I made it a mission that like every week or every 2 weeks, something is coming out. I'm making a rap battle. I'm making a song. I'm making something like, and that was when I really transitioned from let me create something cool that I'm passionate about to I need to learn how to run a business. And all of those new things, some of those skills I picked up at Intel in terms of problem solving and running a run of show, a production schedule, everything like that, that all came during that period when I transitioned into full-time YouTube. And it's crazy to think that that was, you know, beginning to middle of 2020. And here I am in 2025, and this thing is still working. You know, like it still is my main. Spotify is currently probably the main driver of my income, which is crazy. And YouTube is still healthy and successful. And I can now change my approach a little bit more to where I have a lot more opportunities to go do stuff from a live experience, in which I really made it a priority. That's like, I'm a creative, but I am an extroverted creative. I want to show my work to the people. I don't want to just be in my room making it and then getting, you know, numbers feedback. Like, I want to go experience the art that I'm creating with the people who are experiencing it, and that's why I love live performing so much. And I went through a good year to 2 years of I can't do that. I need to focus on building this online career, and also there's no such thing as live music anymore during those 2 years. So you have to just get what you can out of the stay-at-home work, grind, make something, put it out, move on to the next one. And once we finally were exiting that lockdown period and I got my first opportunities to go out and perform live, I feel like I got to learn so much more about being an artist, meeting the community that we were cultivating online, because this we have a community that we labeled the Nerdcore community, which is essentially a genre of music in which you rap, sing, or whatever, and it's themed around video games, anime, anything considered nerdy. And we did have a community for that before lockdown, but I cannot tell you how it's exponentially grown since then. And it's this whole space, it's this whole genre of music, and it's the most welcoming genre of music you will ever experience. There's no space in independent music or underground rap or underground rock that is this. It's not competitive. It's supportive. You have artists with millions of followers platforming artists with 1,000 followers. It's such an incredible space to be a part of, and it was really a response to, we're a bunch of artists who lack community because we can't go out and find it currently. We're all stuck online, and we all just really gravitated towards each other, and everybody who was willing to contribute in a positive way was welcomed in. And it's incredible that it still exists. And we just got done performing. Me and a bunch of those friends just performed a 2,000 person venue in Dallas like a month ago with a festival that is thrown by our very own. You know, this is not an industry event. It's not a traditional concert or festival. It was just made for Nerdcore fans and the Nerdcore community. And it's crazy to see how powerful that is, because I remember performing stages for 15 people at conventions when, you know, people just didn't care because it just wasn't really a thing yet. And it's awesome. As I'm speaking this out loud, I'm really putting into perspective how big this past week was, but also just how big this community has become, because me and one of the artists who started the Dallas event that I was talking about, it's called Nerdcore PartyCon, one of the co-founders of it, I performed at PAX East 2016 or 2017 with him. We're talking like 20 or 30 people showed up. That's it. And to go do a 2,000 cap venue where I crowd surf, that's like one of my gimmicks. I love pyrotechnics and stuff like that. You know, I'm a showman. To get to do that in front of thousands of our fans that are within our community, that are there because they are a fan of the community that we've all gotten to cultivate together, is really, really special, you know, beyond just Pokemon. Just this whole nerdy music space as a whole is so beautiful to be a part of.
My goodness, Cam. I mean, as with all of my guests, each individual segment that you're talking about here could be an episode in its own right. Really fascinating stuff. And I mean, I love that it all comes back to the community as well. And especially that you sort of, it seems like you had a couple of boot camps, in a sense, going back to film school and everything you learned there. And then the lockdown times of just grinding out YouTube and learning to be good at that. And then when the world opens again, the path is laid for you. The stage is set. Wow, very inspiring stuff. Now it's time to discover what's going to be Pokemon number 5 on your dream team, alongside Charizard, Mewtwo, Ferrothorn, and Wailord.
All right, I gotta go for a basic one again. Anybody who knows me knows that this one is coming. I gotta throw my boy Gengar on there. He is. A lot of people that know my music know that. Hilariously, counter to a lot of what's on the soundtrack, I'm much more of an edgy, grungy musician in my own work. Just Beyond, I think, is a good example of some of the type of rapping that I traditionally do on my own, where I'm much more loud, it's more aggressive, there's some distortion on there. So the fact that Pokemon let me do that was really, really cool for me. But I think Gengar is a perfect embodiment of the energy that I bring to a lot of my music. It's the aesthetic that I like. I love... I really also, hilariously, Gengar was really cool, but we didn't really understand link trading evolutions at that age. We didn't know like how to really make that happen. So I think around like, you know, Diamond and Pearl, we knew how to get Gengar, but it still hadn't made that impression on me yet. But it was X and Y where I used shiny Mega Gengar so much, the all-white Gengar, that I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I got more of an appreciation for traditional Gengar as well. And I've made so much music where Gengar is just the perfect embodiment of what that is. One of my favorite songs I made is called Parish Song, and it's very much this kind of like ghostly Lavender Town vibes. And I resonate with that a lot. I love the ghost stories, you know? Like I love like people like sitting around the playground talking about like, ooh, Gengar in the Lavender Tower is going to haunt you. It's fun. So I always got to go back to my boy Gengar.
Would you say it's only like, you know, you sing these songs that have an edgier vibe to them. Is it only in retrospect that you're thinking, oh, it suits Gengar's energy? Or do you go into writing songs like that sort of thinking about Gengar?
No, it's retrospect for sure. Yeah. It's definitely me and this Pokemon just happen to be aligned rather than... I'm a Gengar fan. Let me make some Gengar music. It's like, nah. Me and Gengar definitely locked in.
Yeah, No, understandable. And yeah, I'm sure that Wolf Glick will be a fan of your Parish song being so renowned for the Parish track strategy that he has done so well with at multiple events, and that's also a guest I've had on this podcast. That'll be linked below as well. So Gengar, welcome to the Dream Team. And now, before we round out this Dream Team, let's shadow ball from there over into, it's time to talk about the Pokémon World Championships 2025.
I mean, where do we even start? I was brought on in January. Nate Wants to Battle recommended me to Nick Seeley, who was the producer on the event and helped produce the music. And, God, there's so much I can talk about before even getting to the event itself. But I was brought on very, very early before any music was inked at all. And it kind of started as we're going to give you a rap verse on a song. We're basically going to give you a rap song. It's going to be awesome. And Nick always had the vision that I would, there was always this vision that my song would be the opening song. They kind of had Pokemon had a brief idea of what they wanted to do. Hilariously, the convertible car was kind of a very early idea. Like, that was there before I was there. So me driving on stage in the convertible Pikachu car was an idea before a song was even a thing, so that we kind of knew what we were working towards, which is a very kind of nice roadmap to have. So they came to me with the idea of, we want to basically make a song about the perfect day for a Pokemon trainer. That's the song that became Good Game. That was the song where I did a lot of experimenting with, like, what type of lyrics does Pokemon want? How do they want me to structure it? What aligns with their vision for the song versus me also wanting to do right by me and my community? Because, there's a draft of the song where I'm like, okay, I understand why this is Pokemon, but it's not me. I shouldn't go up there and rap this song if this is the song that you want. But I can go and take what you've given me, rewrite, give notes, make it more me, while also keeping the authentic Pokemon vision. And I think we all landed on something with that song that everybody was really, really happy with. And that was a great learning experience because when they introduced Just Beyond, they were basically like, I think we want to have a breakdown on it and we want you to do your thing, like that you're known for. I'm like, really? Like, they're going to approve of this? Like, this is, I'm abrasive, like I can get loud. And they're like, just do your thing, and if we need to dial it back, we'll dial it back. And I went in there, we did it. It turned out really, really dope, and I'm very, very excited that I got to do something in alignment with my music catalog as well on such a crazy important soundtrack. With this, it's crazy to talk about this because I can't even fully come to terms with the fact that I have made 3 official Pokemon songs. Like, that's, where I'm talking about it like it's a gig when it's the biggest thing I've ever done. It's so incredible. But I was brought on for that one, and then Nick also was producing the closing song, Our Time, and was basically like, we need a rap verse to break this up, and I feel like you'd be perfect for it. Go ahead and just give it a stab. Literally the first draft of lyrics I sent in, they're like, yep, you got it, 100%. And turned out so dope. We had a full orchestra. There's a clip on my social media of me with the 40-piece orchestra. And we recorded them live. I got to go to the recording, and it's so rare that you get that many orchestra pieces in the room for a recording session at the same time. Usually you bring in all the percussion, you bring in all the winds, you bring in the brass separately, and then just track that. But we got the whole orchestra in the room at the same point, and my God, did I have chills that entire recording session. We have centuries of music mastery in one room, creating a song that has my vocals over it. I already laid my vocals down, so I got to watch them play to my vocal track for the biggest media IP of all time that has meant so much to me as a fan, as an artist in my career. That was like a moment where it really felt real, because that was one of the first times I did something that I couldn't have just done by myself. For the most part, I got to just record from home and write. It was like my day job. But when they brought me into that room to go do that symphony, I was like, all right, this is different. I don't get to do this by myself. I'm a part of something much bigger now. And it was awesome. They also let me write the rap breakdown on Let the Good Times Roll. Those were my lyrics, the opening song to the event. And that opening animation was so great. I didn't get to see that till right before the event. And so that was also so special because Chi-Chi was the artist on Let the Good Times Roll for the rap section. Michelle Ray was the incredible vocalist on that one, also Our Time and Heart of a Hero. But Chi-Chi comes from my camp. She's a incredible rapper and vocalist, and she's been on countless amount, at least a double-digit amount of my music. And when they came to me and said, we're looking for somebody for this song, she was one of the first people I suggested, and she killed her audition, and she got to be on the soundtrack, which is super awesome that more of the community from my side, somebody who has given so much to me, they have gotten an opportunity of themselves to work with this thing that means so much to them. And same thing with Toasty Marshmallow. When we needed a vocalist for Good Game, we were like, we want somebody from the community, and who better than she's the anime it girl. She's got a million TikTok followers for her anime content, and she just got done singing a Naruto symphony tour. I'm like, all right, if anyone's qualified to go do a Japan IP live performance, I think she also contributed vocals onto the Demon Slayer symphony that was at Anime Expo. So I'm like, yeah, I think she's qualified. I think she's got it. So we assembled such an awesome team. And so going into the week of Worlds, we had all of the music approved. The album came out. We worked a lot to help start sharing it on social media. And they brought me into my hotel in Anaheim on Tuesday, the week of the event. And Tuesday and Wednesday, we were just rehearsing. And, we had never gotten to rehearse on the actual stage. So all of a sudden, all of our choreography was different because all the spacing was different. So we had to learn new choreography on the fly. And all of a sudden, it's like, am I using a handheld mic? Am I using a mic that's attached to me? Am I starting inside the car? Am I starting outside the car? So... And the secret is I've been doing all this on a bum knee. Like I'm actually going to the doctor on Friday, but the entire show, I wear long pants the whole time, but I'm wearing a knee brace during all of this. And so we probably ran through everything 15 to 20 times. We're taking 20,000 steps a day at Pokémon Worlds. I have never put my body through such I come from like a sporting background, and I've done lots of live shows, and I've definitely put my body under a lot of pressure to achieve something, but it really felt like I just need to make it through this closing ceremony, and then I can finally rest. And it was all so worth it because I knew the moment completely supersede the moment we capture during those 5 to 10 minutes that we get on stage completely supersedes any discomfort or soreness or whatever. It was all so worth it. And I'm watching this incredible tech team work so hard to make sure that everything works out for us. And I'm watching these dancers. We had 8 amazing dancers who we've been working with for months, rehearsing in dance studios and everything. And these guys have to do backflips, and they're throwing me like a cannon, and this and this. And I'm like, all right, if those guys can go do their job 20 times and not complain, I'm going to complain a little bit because my knee hurt, but I'm still going to do my job. So it was truly incredible to see how willing everybody involved was to just every single time give 110%. And I think it paid off when we finally got on there. And this was my family's first time really getting to see me perform as Cam Steady. They had seen me they've seen clips of me as a full-time musician. They had been to high school talent shows or maybe an open mic when I was in college, but they have never seen me as Cam Steady, a full-time rap artist, put on a show. And I can't lie, after just the catharsis of performing that event, and it was 10 minutes and we were done. all of that, like it's crazy to be like, we ran through it 3 times the day of our call time was 6 a.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. to be at that event, and we ran through it 3 times, and then boom, 10 minutes and it's gone, and it's just like, wow, we just did that, the biggest show of my career done, all of that choreography training, my family was in the audience, all of the people I worked with, we all came together and pulled this thing off. And I just went to the green room and I just had like a couple tears. And I just had to just like sit there for like a few minutes and just like really process that, like, I just had a life moment, you know, that it's here forever. And I'm going to tell my kids whenever, like, whoever I end up passing that on to, family members, be telling that. So I'm going to be, 60 years old and looking through old videos and watching, like, the one thing I'm going to remember is the kid who dressed up like Mario and Ash Ketchum at age 12 and decided that he wanted to upload a rap about Pokemon onto the internet. And I ended up doing a ceremony in a real Pokemon stadium. You know, the one thing I hope Pokemon fans can really resonate with, because we had such positive reception, but for the Pokemon fans that didn't know who we were, perhaps, or weren't part of this branch of the community, I really want them to hammer home how much this meant to everybody involved and how much we love Pokemon and how much we're part of the community. We're not some random contracted artists that were brought on for a gig. This was the most important project that so many of us have been a part of, and not just because of the scale, but because I think Nate put this perfectly, is I don't typically get stage fright, but the pressure I felt for doing my community justice and doing this franchise that essentially raised me and helped me start a career and helped me find my closest friends, to get to be the voice of it for 10 minutes, like, we put everything into making sure that we gave Pokemon and the fans and the community the best voice that we could possibly give it. And I'm very, very proud of everybody involved.
Incredible. It's exactly why I wanted to get you on the show, Cam, to cement the bonds that you have built with that you've been part of the community for so long, but of course just to emphasise to people that you are first and foremost a fan, and that then became what it became at Pokémon World. And as you say, I mean, the thrills I felt watching all of you guys do your thing in the opening and the closing ceremony were quite something, and so I can only imagine how it must have been for you. But it felt like the dawn of a new era for Pokemon as well, and just the possibilities where Pokemon could go from here. So thanks so much for being a part of it, and thank you for bringing that passion, for sort of bringing it all the way back around, bringing that passion that you felt onto the stage and then giving it back to the fans who love to hear it. Incredible. Well, it's now time to round out this Dream Team, Cam. So, who's going to be Pokemon number 6?
It's incredible. Like I said, it changes on a whim, but I knew I had to bring a Generation 4 Pokemon. I'm such a big Generation 4 guy. I'd say it's probably the most formative experience of my Pokemon journey. And so, I'm a big electric type guy, and I got to bring my boy Electivire in as the last one. Just a cool, hard-hitting one of those guys where I was already an Electabuzz fan, and he got such a cool Evo, and I don't have any incredible close stories about like what this Pokemon means to me. I don't have a specific reference to a battle, but what I do have is just a kid who Generation 4 was the first games I ever pre-ordered, like first video game, period. Diamond and Pearl, and I remember my grandmother, who is very, very proud of these performances, who has gotten to see the video footage and everything like that. I remember her taking me to Toys R Us and pre-ordering Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and The experiences I had with those games truly cemented eternally my love for this series. And Electivire is just one of the coolest Pokemon that, from my perspective, I got to play with during that era. And so I'll always have a very strong connection to Electivire because it reminds me of my connection to those games.
Yeah, wonderful. Sometimes that's all it takes, just that bedrock for a Pokemon to speak to us, and
Definitely.
the heart wants what it wants. Electivire, and we've got a pretty good balance of types on this team, actually, Cam. So this means that your complete dream team is Charizard, Mewtwo, Ferrothorn, Wailord, Gengar, and now Electivire. So we've got Ghost and Poison, we've got Electric there, we've got Fire and Flying, we've got Water, we've got Psychic, Grass and Steel. I don't think we have any repeated types there, unless I'm mistaken, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I think subconsciously, I think I told myself that if I have repeating types, it's not a big deal. Like, I didn't want to do like 4 water Pokemon or anything like that. I tried to do some diversity, but I think just subconsciously I was like, oh, I need to create a team, like yeah. So definitely not my not the team I'm bringing to the VGC competitive space anytime soon. But I think subconsciously the Pokemon trainer in me wants to have a little bit of balance. It feels right. It feels right.
I think you could do a lot worse, though, if you were to bring a team to a competitive event than the one that you've chosen, because they complement each other so well, and from a spread of generations there as well. So, now it's time to ask you, Cam, if you choose one of these Pokemon to be your partner Pokemon, which would you choose?
It has to be Mewtwo. It's such like I said, the armor is right behind me. I feel such a parallel. I can speak to this a little bit, as Mewtwo was one of the first songs that I had, especially Pokemon songs, that I feel like really encapsulates what I do now and also who I am as an artist. And the whole crux of this song is the concept of a man-made god, and Mewtwo is essentially that. He is this being of immense power but there's strings attached to him, like he was created by Team Rocket. And he was meant to bend the knee to somebody that theoretically should be less powerful than him. And you see this powerful being, and it's almost an irony to the fact that he's in chains. He has to succumb in order to, or else his power can be taken away. And this is such an interesting parallel because it seems dramatic, but bear with me here. Especially during the period where I was locked up and making music pretty much exclusively for the YouTube audience, and I couldn't go out and tour, and I couldn't go out and do this, and this, and I was really learning the YouTube grind and the algorithms that come with it, and this, and this. My music career was taking off, and you almost feel like this being of influence, this being of power, but there's these games that you have to play along with it. You have to say, upload this many songs. Your songs have to sound a certain way, or else the audience might not resonate with it. You have to title your videos a certain way, thumbnails a certain way, this a certain way, post this many TikToks, do this, and this. At the end of the day, you realize that you only have this influence because you are following the wills of this algorithm, this audience. You are playing the game, and there's so many ways to make it your own. This isn't necessarily a prison, but it is restrictions on your freedom. It's creative freedom. Is if you want this influence, if you want to hold this power, then you do have to sometimes kind of do this song and dance that they want you to do. And I am so blessed to have the life that I have, but with every person and every job, sometimes you feel like you're kind of trapped. And I kind of saw a lot of that in Mewtwo's story. And so when I talk about the concept of being this man-made god, it's not necessarily a braggadocious thing. It's like this ironic curse. And it's a curse that I would ask for a million times over because I'm so excited with the life that I live. But it was almost just an acknowledgement of, I know the steps I have to take if I want to be the artist that I want to be. And sometimes that's a little defeating because you just want to create what you want to create as an artist. Sometimes you don't want to be a businessman. Sometimes you don't want to be a marketer. Sometimes you just want to be an artist. But one of the lines that I think with Mewtwo was, I have this line in the second verse where I say, "Drawing from frustration is my greatest illustration. You're calling me an artist, but I'm only your creation." And I think that resonates a lot with me and probably a lot of other people who do any type of creative passion, especially for monetary requirement, for financial reasons. You know, if you must to pay your rent, to take care of your family, you want to be the creative that you want to be. You want to be the man that you want to be, but sometimes you have to do the song and dance. And that parallelism between sometimes what I experience and then Mewtwo's story of being this man-made god, even though I made the song 4 years ago, I still say is one of my favorite songs that I've ever made.
Really incredible stuff, Cam, and if that's not an advert to everyone, if that doesn't make everyone want to go and listen to that Mewtwo song as soon as we're done chatting here, then I don't know what is, and I cannot wait to
It is loud and explosive though, so
okay.
Be sure you're ready for the gym. You know, go get a workout in if you're going to listen to Mewtwo. It's not driving home late at night music.
Yeah, I will. You have been warned, but I will link that in the description below as well. Incredible. Now, Cam, a totally different kind of question for you. If you were a Pokemon, based on everything we've heard about you up to now, what do you think you would be?
My brain just told me Toxtricity. I feel like my brain just told me Toxtricity. There's a lot of I'm sure good options, but it immediately just went to. I feel like. What I think is I like about Toxtricity in me is obviously there's the obvious parallels of like cool, he's punk rock. He's cool. He's always associated with music, but I feel like people are very surprised by the fact that when I'm not performing, I'm pretty low energy. You know, like I kind of like to keep it chill. And I think it's because I put so much of myself out there when I am performing, especially like when I'm recording and I'm like doing more like aggressive vocals, like yelling or like a metal scream or something. I am an extrovert, but to only a certain degree. You know, like I can only give so much of myself before there's none left. I have to go recharge. And I feel like the Toxtricity, like they're kind of like, you know, they kind of got this nonchalantness to them. You know, they're kind of just walking around, but then boom, they hit you with the boom burst, and all of a sudden, like everything starts glowing and spikes up. And I kind of see that dichotomy. You know, I feel like I resonate with that a lot. I kind of like their little, you know, they kind of walk with a little bit of a sway. They're just kind of like these chill dudes, and then boom, it's time for battle. Okay, like lightning starts sparking, and like, you know, the screams start happening, and I think that's the perfect. I am Toxtricity.
Toxtricity, I love to hear it, and you're so right. They do the more energized version of themselves as well as the lower key version. So, do you all agree? Let us know if you agree that of all the Pokemon there are, Cam Steady would be a Toxtricity in the comments. We'd be fascinated to read. And speaking of you all, it's now time for your community questions. I posted online, as I always do, asking for questions from you for Cam. I apologise I won't be able to feature all of them, and I apologise if I mispronounce any of your names or handles. We've got some really interesting ones here. So, Flooftoon15 would like to know, what are your standout moments from the World Championships beyond actually performing in the opening and closing ceremonies? Just beyond those moments, if you will.
I see what you did there. So many. The obvious answers are reconnecting with so many people within the community and the stuff that you see off camera. Just the amount of hugs that you get to give. And obviously I've talked about my history in this community, and it just seemed like everywhere I went, I saw a familiar, welcoming face. And that was so wonderful to get to experience. It truly was a aspect of the event that I almost didn't even realize how much I would have, which was such a welcome surprise. Also just incredible to see. I was very excited to be a part of the competitive space and see how passionate everybody was about the esports themselves. And to get to see some of that final day in the arena before I went on for the closing ceremony, and to see how excited everybody was, and to see how passionate everybody was for all of the different events, you know, from VGC to Go to the TCG to Unite. It's a space that I haven't explored as much beyond VGC, and it's amazing to see how diverse and passionate this fan base is for all facets. And for that to take place in this arena, also such a huge shout out to Paperlight, the company that helped with all of the aspects of the entertainment and the show running, but Pokemon themselves as well. That arena display was incredible. It truly was, like, with the graphics on the ground, like displaying all of the statistics or the Pokemon teams. I was just so impressed by how it was ran, because esports are still such an emerging field. There's only so many big events where people have the budget to do something like that. And for Pokemon to show out and say, let's give you a definitive experience right now, not just for esports fans, but for Pokemon fans, because that was a Pokemon stadium, you know? That was how Pokemon Masters were supposed to be battled. And I cannot wait to see, whether it's involved directly or just as a fan, I cannot wait to experience the following year in the Chase Arena, because I'm a basketball fan, and to go see them play Pokemon where Steph Curry plays, that's crazy. I can't wait for that. So the showmanship of it all, bravo.
Yeah, for anyone unfamiliar, San Francisco, the host city of the World Championships next year, has been confirmed that at least Championship Sunday will be taking place in that Chase Arena. Massive, you know, far just beyond the size of the arena we had in Anaheim.
About 3 times.
About 3 times, exactly, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, you know, in some way, there are so many more moments from the weekend that you would class as all right, but thank you so much for sharing that, Cam. All right, now, question from Drifloon Supremacy Association, and thank you so much, Drifloon, for your support of the channel. We'd like to know, yeah, and I'd like to know this too, as with all of these questions here, the lyrics that you had in Good Game were so amazing, especially the opening, when you're just summarizing some things that go right for a trainer on a good day for a Pokemon trainer. First of all, do you want to just run us through what some of those lyrics were, and then just your thought process behind coming up with some of them?
The sun is shining, the tailwind is pushing you, things are going your way, you find shinies, you don't hit yourself in confusion, you land all your focus blasts. That's it came down to the opener itself was kind of the place where, let me think of all of the things that I know I have to hit that I think people would really appreciate, that I couldn't find a way to weave into actual lyrics, because they wanted me to do this opening, and kind of the draft they gave me was pretty general, of just like, yeah, the sun is shining and the wind's in your hair and you feel like you can catch them all. And like, but this is a competitive event. What if we just like really hone in on the things that could go well for people actually playing the game itself rather than a theoretical Pokemon trainer? And they took a liking to it immediately. And so I think it's just a testament to, I play these games, I know what it's like to miss Focus Blast 3 times in a row. I be doing my battles with my friends on a daily basis sometimes. And after the 3rd Focus Blast, I'm ready to be like, you know what, man? You got it. You win. I'm done. I know how that feels. And so the opposite of just like when you land all 3 of them, you're like, okay, maybe I didn't deserve that win, but I got it. I got the 70% accuracy. I got it. The Pokemon tasked me with writing beginning to end what just a perfect day for a Pokemon trainer will look like. And it just comes down to everything. Let's go down the journey of a Pokemon trainer, from waking up to going to the mart for supplies and starting to catch new rare Pokemon, to winning the gym battles, to even just hatching all of your eggs, and this and this. I just thought of like, what are the beats that a trainer could go on, and then how can we make them as seamless as possible? And I just thought of the things that might frustrate you as a trainer, and I'm like, well, let's just give them the opposite of just like, yep, you run into the shinies, you run into the rare Pokemon, you hatch all of your eggs, nice and easy. Like even just stuff of like, oh, if you see me resting, I'm holding a chesto berry, so it don't matter. So it's like even the days like even during my breaks, I'm prepared. Don't worry, guys. So it's I think I just wanted it as I have written so many songs that reference Pokemon lyrics, and with this one, we really just wanted it to be like I wanted to give them the presentation of like pretty much any Pokemon fan will understand what these are. I'm not making super deep references to anything. Like I'm not referencing a random Team Aqua admin or anything like that. You know, it's still Pokemon fans in general. But I feel like if you are loosely a Pokemon fan attending Worlds, 90% of what in that song is for you. And I wrote that with you guys in mind. You know, it was for you. We didn't want to make it sounds like a radio hit. I'm so happy with how it sounds, but at the end of the day, it's a Pokemon song. It's for Pokemon fans.
Yeah. Comes from a deep-seated love of the game. Thank you so much for that question. And I apologise if I mispronounce this here. So, Ribby TE on YT is that I was looking to be. So, how does it feel? This is just a retrospective question here. How does it feel going from rap battles to now being on stage at Pokémon Worlds?
It almost feels unreal because rap battles feels like a different lifetime ago, you know? Like I can remember the times I was doing rap battles and I can remember being the kid in high school and everything like that, but especially when I started, it was a decade ago, you know? Everything in my career has felt like a natural progression. I don't feel like I ever had like a big break. It just kind of felt like, wow, the next big the next cool thing I get to do, the next cool thing I get to do. So when I do get the chance to look back and be like, how did I get here? Because there's not like one clear moment to me where I'm like, this is where everything worked out. It's just always been a slow like incline of just like getting another look, another opportunity, another cool thing for me to say yes to. And I am kind of grateful that I've gotten this slow build-up over my career because I felt so prepared. I felt so natural on that stage. I believe I belong up there. I believe I was the right person for this job, and I felt so prepared, and I didn't feel stage fright on stage, and I felt confident, and I felt comfortable, and I feel like me and the team put on a great show for everybody involved, and I'm grateful that I can kind of look back and be like, oh, I don't know where it all felt like it clicked because it has just been years of putting our reps in and just getting a little bit better, getting a little bit further, doing something a little bit bigger. And with that type of natural progression, it's sometimes hard to look back and be like, whoa, we started where? Like, what? And only a few years ago, the thing I would like to liken this to is I attended an event called MomoCon in 2022, I believe was the first year that we did it. And that was really the first time me and my Nerdcore community got to go out to an event and perform it for hundreds of our fans. And it really felt like our first time bringing what we do to a stage in a grand aspect rather than just performing for a couple dozen, somewhat uninterested convention attendees. And to get to say that, wow, we just did our first real Nerdcore experience concert like 3 years ago. And so for me to be like, it's felt like a lifetime has passed since then, but it's been so, the trajectory these past few years has been so special and so cool. And I am an honor to be part of a community where these opportunities come up, and I genuinely believe it is only because of the support of obviously the audience, but everybody, the other artists involved who are willing to be a part of something, and it doesn't always have to be about us individually. We are willing to contribute to a whole if the project is a special project. And I've had so many talented artists, big and small, be willing to play a part rather than like being focused just on themselves in that moment. And I really reflect on how grateful I am for them, because I don't think I would be on that stage if I didn't have a team of talented creatives and artists elevating what I do to a level that I definitely couldn't reach by myself.
It all comes back around to that community. Wonderful to hear. Well, thank you so much for all of your questions there. And if you'd like to submit a question for a future guest on Chazingdra Chats, you can find my handles at Chazingdra across X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. That's where I post the call outs for these questions. I would love to hear what you'd love to hear. All right then, Cam, so I've heard a lot about you up to now, but what's next for you?
I am going on tour with Nate Wants to Battle. Is going to be my first time on a tour bus. I have done hundreds of shows in my career at this point, but I have never gone city to city by bus. And we have a very nice tour bus. I'm very excited to go check out and spend a week with my good friend Nate. And we'll be hitting a bunch of cities on the west coast of the U.S. And that will start first week of October. If you are in any of the West Coast cities, be sure to check us out on Nate's website. All of his tickets will be available there. And for people who aren't on the West Coast, if this tour goes well, we have discussed the potential of other cities maybe next year. Who knows? Who knows? No promises. And so we're very excited for this first run on the West Coast to go well. And if it does, maybe we'll see you in other parts of the country or world. Who knows?
Incredible, yeah. Well, very much wish you the best for your first tour experience, and I hope that it's the first of many. Final question for you, Cam. Looking back from now as a very well-established Nerdcore musician with a fantastic following, having just done the Pokémon World Championships, all the way back to the young Cam who, played through Pokemon Ruby as far as they were able, wasn't able to read too much, so couldn't progress that far, for example. What advice would you give to that younger you?
Read. To, don't make it perfect, make it good. You can make it great later. First, just make it. Just make something. So many times I've found myself obsessing over making something perfect when I would have benefited so much more by making 10 imperfect projects, because the thing that talking to young me, the thing you make next year is going to be 10 times better than the thing you make this year. So don't go make 10 things. Go learn more. Don't be afraid to learn through the experience. Not everything has to be your magnum opus. Sometimes you can just learn, and then you will be so much more prepared when those opportunities come up. So consistency, work ethic, and just make the thing you want to make.
Speaking to all of the perfectionists in the room, and I'm looking at myself here, I know that far more people will be taking so much away from that. Yeah, absolutely. Just we're our own harshest critics, and sometimes just got to take that pressure off yourself. Well, thanks so much for that, Cam. And the chat does not end there, because we'll now be getting into Cam Steady's Rapidash round, 15 or so minutes of bonus questions that Cam has not prepared for. And as with all my guests, there's so much more I want to take a deeper dive into. For example, favourite artists of Cam, beyond the ones that we've talked about here, or advice that Cam would give to aspiring musicians. Which Pokemon character does Cam think would enjoy the various genres of the music Cam puts out the most? And questions like that, if that would be of interest to you, then the link is in the description below for becoming a YouTube channel member, which gets you access to 4 bonus videos per month, as well as many more perks, and also they will be available individually on my Patreon, also linked below. Fundamentally, I really appreciate the fact that you've listened to or watched this episode in its entirety, but if you want to hang out with me and Cam for a little bit longer, then the links will be in the description below, and that option is available to you. But for now, Cam, thank you so much again for joining me on the show. That was a whole wave of inspiration, and I'm already very much looking forward to editing this, and so that I can just relive it all again, getting this episode out there for the people who either have been followers of yours for a long time, or who first experienced you at Pokemon World, but you are well and truly part of the community, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part of it.
No, it's wonderful to have you on. If people want to catch up with you online, where can they find you?
I'm on all platforms. The Cam Steady is my handle and everything. You can probably just find me as Cam Steady. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. I appreciate people supporting the content, but at the end of the day, it's all for the music. So if you want to go listen to some of my music, you can find me on any of those platforms.
Make sure you check it out, and again, make sure you're listening to the World's 2025 album that came out recently, because full of absolute bangers. And now time for YouTube spiel from this side of things. Once more, everybody, if you've enjoyed, please do like and subscribe. It would mean a huge amount, and drop a comment too, because Cam, as with all my guests, has given us so much food for thought. We'd love to know what you thought, and if any of your own Pokemon picks would tie in with any of Cam's. And also on my channel, I stream competitively as well as casual, including shiny hunting as well as Nuzlocke. If you're a fan of everything the Pokemon video games have to offer, then my channel is the place for you. I also do silly Pokemon flavoured comedy skits, come up with Pokemon one-liners, and so on. And there are around 70 episodes of this podcast at this point, featuring a broad range of guests. There's bound to be an episode for everyone, so you can use the hashtag 6Pokemon1Life to spread the word about the show. All those episodes I mentioned in the episode will be linked below as well, and there'll be cards appearing on screen at this point with links to some of those episodes too. At Chazingdra across all handles, as I mentioned. Discord is linked below, email is linked below as well, and episodes of this podcast drop every Wednesday. So with that being said, Cam, it's now time to get into your Rapidash round. So if you're not joining us over on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member for that, then it's goodbye from Cam.
Farewell.
And it's goodbye from me. See you next time on Chazingdra Chats, where there'll be another 6 Pokemon, 1 life story. Alright then, Cam, how are you feeling about these bonus questions?
I am ready. I'm ready for the Rapidash round.
Let's do it. Let's zoom right into it then. So, let's kick things off with the questions that I teased at the end there. So, your favourite artists of, all levels throughout your career.
Of course. My biggest musical inspiration of all time, which might be a surprise to people as stylistically we don't necessarily align, but I would not be making music if